So if you want to, just pan out that way, Natalie. Show everyone the red rocks. We're on our way to the Atlantis Shop. We're on our way to the Atlantis Shop, and we're going to go and meet Dr. Amanda Romania. Yes. And I think that you guys will really enjoy this interview. So we'll be right back with you on Otherworld Global TV.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Otherworld Global TV. I'm actually in Sedona, Arizona, in front of the Atlantis Shop, actually in front of Pegasus, but beyond Pegasus, there's the Atlantis Metaphysical Center, and it is awesome. We're going to be doing an interview today with Dr. Amanda Romania. She is just a specialist. She's incredibly wonderful and just full of love, and she has given us a permission to tour the Atlantis Shop in addition to the interview, so stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Otherworld Global TV. I am your host, Sandra Sabatini. Joining me today, of course, is Natalie Sabatini.
Welcome, everyone.
And today we have a very, very special guest. We have with us Dr. Amanda Romania. Thank you so much for coming and joining us on Otherworld Global TV today.
Thank you so much, and everyone welcome into Atlantis Metaphysical Center here in the heart of Sedona. Welcome.
Dr. Romania, it's truly a pleasure to be sitting down with you. I don't know very much about you, but the little that I do know I've found to be very pleasing. Can you please tell us about your journey and how it is that you became involved in metaphysics and spirituality?
Thank you so much. Yeah, this journey that it's taken me on has been what I call a lifelong quest. And what I found that when I was growing up in England was that we were open to all kinds of different thoughts and religion, and my parents really encouraged me to explore other avenues of what was going on in life, what was really happening. And I was an only child, and I found that in school I was really emotionally away, so I could sense what was going on with other people. And then gradually, like we do, we leave for college, we go through school, but there was always something that was missing. And I kept searching for other avenues of thought, reading books of enlightenment, and what I found was that in the spiritual world, I found my answers. I found what I could match up into my everyday life. So I guess working in retail, working in business, and then going through education programs and studying, it left me with this quest for knowledge, quest for wisdom. And that's where I really found my answers when I started to go to places such as Glastonbury or go to Egypt. And eventually all those skills led me to Sedona, where I'm on the front line here every single day answering people's questions about all kinds of things.
And that's her specialty, I would say, at least in my opinion. Dr. Romania really tries to help individuals find their way. And one of the things that you do, and that you're very well known for, is the Akashic readings, correct?
Yes.
Can you please tell us about that?
Yes.
What are the Akashic records? And you sound so mysterious.
I know. It's one of my favorite subjects, and to be quite honest, I am a little biased. I think that anyone in spiritual world or metaphysics, this is what I call 101. So to just really briefly explain what the Akashic record is, imagine a database of everything, all your information of your soul's journey, what I call your timelines of life, where you've been in past incarnations, what you're creating in your present life, life between lives, when you cross over and you transition, where do you go, what do you do? And what I found is that we all have this database, and my database will be creating a file as we're having this conversation.
Like a computer.
Absolutely. And if you can think of yourself as a really, what I call a smartphone, but one of the next 23rd generation, we're all like that, because basically we are electricity. And we're able to download information and upload information. So when you have your psychic gifts activated, what happens is you're able then, with your third eye and your crown chakra, you're able to go into zones to find out information. Now, at one time, people would do this as a parlor trick, or it would be entertainment. And it didn't really give the spiritual world too much of a good representation. So when I came forward, to me this was a great gift that I could share, that I could read people's records And my main question was, well, so what? I was reading amazing case studies of people going into people's past lives, but so what? What good is that for us right here today?
The applied aspect. How can we apply this knowledge, essentially, and share it with the world?
Absolutely. And when my gift actually opened was really interesting, because I was working in Glastonbury in a retreat centre, and I had an amazing gifted teacher. And she would let me sit in on sessions. Well, and clients didn't mind. They felt safe, that they were in a safe space. And what I found was, as she was going into their past life records, I was seeing it as well. And at first I thought, that's because I must have been there. I must have been on that timeline. And then we went to Egypt, and after 2 weeks, and I was reading other people's records. I was seeing their faces shift. I was seeing what had happened in temple to them, where they'd made it through the temple initiations, where they'd failed the temple initiations. And what I was helping them do was recover from that. Clean it, clear it, make your peace with it, and let it go. Because we can't change what's in the records, but what we can do is change our emotional feeling. And what I found was that the emotional feeling of either tragedy or persecution, it will sit in your records like something like a toxic email or spam email. And I don't know about you, but I take my computer every 2 years to the computer specialist and get it cleaned and upgraded. But we don't do that with our souls. So all that programming, it just sits and recreates with us. And what I decided was, actually, I don't want to choose that in this lifetime. I want to free myself. So as I was helping free others, what I did was I developed a system that I call Akashic therapy, which means you go into the records, you look at what your records, your karma, your soul contracts, your lessons are. Now, do you need to heal these, clear these, or gain clarity?
See, that's amazing. And how did you feel when you first began to see, these people's past lives? Were you scared? Were you intimidated? Were you excited? How did you gain the validity of that experience for yourself?
I think any time you're going into a spiritual or metaphysical zone and you're reading things from what I call psychic sources or other dimensions, it's always really scary. And what I found was that in Egypt, I was just allowing my information to come out. And sometimes your ego can get in there where it really wants to help people and trying to be the little helper and help things. And then over the years, what I found is that, no, I need to step back and work at this as a practice. It's a sacred art. And I teach up to practitioner level. So I know what it means to go out and really extend my energy in my field to them. And I've been really sick sometimes when I've done what I call present life records. And I've maybe took on some of the energy fields from the people in their sadness. That's why I think I really want to help people on the front line here in Sedona. Because if we don't know this information, it's a little bit like we learn trial through error. And if I've had to go through it and been sick and tired with it, I can give anyone the information to save them from that, because I know they're helping others. That's part of my mission as well.
I see. So if it's okay, I'd like to explore that concept a little bit. I've heard of a lot of people, I myself as well, I'm very sensitive, and I can go to a place and it just doesn't have a good energy, and I start feeling tired, fatigued, just not good. What can one do as a quick fix, maybe not as a permanent fix, but just a quick fix to kind of uplift oneself or shield oneself from those energies?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love to teach this lesson in places like restaurants or airports, places where there's a lot of what I call community around.
Airports.
Often when people come into meditation classes, the teacher has cleared the room, brought in some heavenly forces, they've possibly got crystals and oils, so the frequency and the energy of the room is very high. What I like to do is learn what I call in the space and place that you can really experience it. And the first thing that I would say is that the key is observation. Taking time and just pulling your energy in and really sensing within yourself, where is that energy hitting? Or where is that making me feel uncomfortable?
I see.
If it's your throat, it can often be that this is a space and place where you can't speak your truth, or that the integrity of the place is not in alignment. So if you were going into, say, a place where you were connecting with, say, an attorney, and you found that your throat was really closing up, this may not be the best of relationships for you. Or you should really be able to assert yourself by writing down what it is that you want when you go to visit that person. It may be that you go and you find yourself in a restaurant and you can feel it's just the noise and the energy is coming at you. Where is it in your field that you're feeling most stressed? Most people will have it possibly a headache, or they'll feel a little bit nauseous. And the reason being is that there's so much energy frequency coming at your head that it's literally blocking out what we call your signals and your well-being signals. If it's hitting in your solar plexus, it means that you can't be who you truly are. So you may feel that the menu doesn't serve you, or the waitress, waiter, they don't serve you. Easiest way is what I call just like a balancing. Pulling your energy in, just taking 2 deep breaths. A powerful affirmation is, I am safe, I am calm, I am here for a learning and knowledge experience. And calling in whoever it is that you want to surround yourself. One of the number ones is Archangel Michael, and just bringing his blue protection of light. Other one for Egypt is we do this kind of shields up, and we imagine rainbow light in front and behind you. In past lives, most people have taken what we call a conflict or a hit to the back. So that tends to be your weakness area in your energy field. So it's almost about bringing that light all around you. And often what I will do is sometimes think about a grandmother or grandfather or someone in my family line that made me feel strong. I lived with indigenous grandmothers for a little while, and those ladies were fierce. So I always imagine one of my grandmas stood with me. And those are just nice protection ways.
That's very clever. I've never heard of all the different ways that one can use to protect oneself from those energies. The most typical ones that I've heard are sage, and just spray sage everywhere. Don't care about the people around you. It doesn't matter. You can sage them too, but that's very clever and very interesting.
Sage is a great, great way. We do have sage in the center. We have black tourmaline in the center. What we also have is lavender scent, and we have rainbows. What I found was a lot of people were coming to me, and I had a teacher. She was an elementary school principal, and she came to me and she said, okay, the school that I am, we deal with a lot of issues. We deal with a lot of parents wanting the best for their children, and the children not being able to understand what's going on in their lives. So a lot of conflict in families. So I need sage and some black tourmaline. And I said, well, what kind of age group are we talking? She said, elementary, mainly 7 to 9-year-olds. And I said, so when you're burning sage in your office and you've got big black rocks on your desk, that's okay in your home, but what are your parents going to think? And she's like, yeah, that's questionable on my integrity, because they don't understand that. They may start to question. And that's not really why they're there. They're there to do the best of what we call mediation for their children. So what we did was we looked at how we can take a lot of the old wisdom and maybe modernize it, maybe make it a little bit more simple.
Adjust it to your lifestyle in the present times.
Absolutely. And then it becomes what we call applicable to you. And you can work with that. A lot of times we pick up all of these spiritual gifts. They go in the drawers, they go in the cupboards, the crystals go away. And we set out with good intentions. And we have all these tools and we don't use them. And my thing is, make the tools work for you. Create that good feng shui for yourself.
It's very clever. One of the things that I've always wanted to know was the perspective of, well, not just a woman, but a businesswoman who understands how to run her shop, essentially, how to survive in the world. We have a lot of people in the metaphysical community who are very carefree. They just kind of live wherever and go from place to place. But the reality is, at this time, we do need money to survive in a certain type of society. And how have you been able to live your dream? I see it. I mean, I can see your shop. It's wonderful. It's your dream.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it's
Thank
just
you.
magical,
Thank you so much.
very bright, and you come in here and you just know you're in a different world. And how have you been able to still maintain your spirituality, your, I don't know how to call it. How have you been able to merge both worlds and still be successful?
I was very blessed that Spirit trained me in what I call business and the red zones. It's like the red chakra, taking care of yourself, the orange chakra, nurturing. Spirit sent me into what I call the 3D world first. So at 15-year-old, I was working for a company called Clark's Shoes. It's an English company, and my job was to fit children's shoes. So people would bring their children from about, say, a year old to 12-year-old, and I would sit with their parents and we would make sure that their feet were in the proper fitting footwear. I like to look at it that I was helping them stand up for life and be comfortable, so that was part of my karma. And I worked with them for a long, long time, until the fact that I even owned my own franchise stores. So what I found was that I was in two different streams. I was going to work Monday to Friday, successful business. I loved working with customers. I loved working with product. I loved selling because I was matching the customer with what they needed. And I was also learning the business dynamics. I finished my business degree with Durham University, and I was going to workshops on a weekend. So I would be meditating, or in Egypt, or on a Flower of Life weekend, or working in training with Doreen Virtue with angels, and then going back into corporate. So I was swimming in both worlds. It was serving me very, very well, but the corporate situation of my stores meant that they wanted me to be more present, open more stores, and leave this other world behind. So in 2007, I jumped ship, and I gave back my businesses, set up a consultancy, focused more on my spiritual gifts, doing readings, doing healings, and became my own person. Now, I was a single mom, so that was a little bit of a leap of faith. But I've often found that when you're looking after children on your own, you become the most entrepreneurial that you ever could, because you have to. And Spirit would send me lots of opportunity, and people started to refer me. So I found myself then traveling the world and using my skills, and it seemed to work. I could bridge both of those journeys.
Wonderful.
And then what I did was I went to Durham. They invited me back on a business doctorate program. And I spent 2 years writing doctorate theories, and my theory was that you could have a metaphysical business, spiritually guided, with feng shui, blessing the money, blessing the people, sending the angels in, and you could make a profitable center that you could train people through, that they could take care of themselves. And my university didn't really buy the subject. They said, well, perhaps you need to go to the religious department.
Oh my God.
And that was really, I had to cut my ties with my university, and I was lost. I was lost. And I came into America. By this time, I'd met my husband. I'd met him in 2006 in Bali, and we married in 2009. He's from Oregon. And we set off on a journey to find somewhere to live. And when I got to Sedona, what I found was that because it's a tourist destination, it's a spiritual hub, metaphysical teachers, and it supports business women better than I've ever seen a town support anywhere before. If you go to most of the businesses in town, a lot of the successful ones, they're owned and ran and managed by women. So for me, this was my home. This was where I could really experiment and restage and re-engage. And I could, what I called, bring it larger than life. Hence the color that you're seeing around you. this amazing artist, Brian de Flores. He's quite exceptional.
Absolutely amazing. Just beautiful. And I really want people to get to know you better. So can you please tell us what your dream is for the future? What do you see yourself doing in the future?
That's really interesting because there's an amazing publication called Sedona Emergence. It's a magazine that you can buy in most bookstores, and they actually asked me to do a piece of predictions for next year.
Oh.
And what I'm seeing is that with all of the shifts and the change, we're constantly looking outside of ourselves. My concern is how we're looking within ourselves and how our programming is running and where it is that we want to be in our ascension program, which means what is our karma like with people? What is our karma like with ourselves? What is our karma like with our situation? And are we contributing to our own destiny and the destiny of others? And I have a big belief that you can be working in any community. You can be working in the supermarket, you can be working in the drugstore, you can be working in a clothes store, and you can still be in your spiritual power. So for me, when I created our Metaphysics 101, it's basically a whole program of 101 different classes you can come and take. They're 30 minutes long, but you can then go and do a Jeep trip, you can go and have lunch, you can meet with your friends, plus you can have a spiritual experience. So all the time for me, the more people that I can, what I call encourage to engage, and I'll just say to them, you know, does this bring you joy in your life? Does it bring you something of what we call peace and completion? And often they say yes, and that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
And if it's all right with you, I kind of want to move into a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for you to tell us about some of the things that you've done. For example, I see that you've written a couple of books.
Yes.
And I believe they were translated into Spanish and German. Was there another?
Spanish and German, and they're going through. It's this one in particular. It's this one, Akashic Therapy. This was my first book. And I have to say, normally I wouldn't have put myself on the cover.
I think it's great.
But it was airbrushed, so it does look, she looks really sweet. And what I found with this book was, it was a channeled book. I was inspired after a Hay House cruise of going on a writer's workshop and meeting Wayne Dyer. I was inspired to write about what I did so people could understand and they could pick the method up themselves. So what I found with this book was that it literally took my heart and soul and what I call some of my energy into it so others could read. What was very interesting was that I chose to self-publish, which was a journey in itself. And then I connected with an agent in California, very spiritual lady, Deanna Lee, and she took my book to the London Book Fair. And it was picked up by Random House in Germany. And out of all the publishers, that's probably her number one. And she said, Amanda, I love your book, but I don't know why they picked yours specifically. And what I found was that I was at the front of the wave of Akashic record books. Quite a few came after me, which is normally the wave, the information comes down. And that's why you'll have a lot of people go, oh, I was going to write that book. And I will say to them, well, yeah, but you got the message, but that person did as well. So what
Is it all right if we can show it?
Yeah, absolutely. There we are. There she is.
Very lovely cover.
And it's very clean, very simple, and it talks about the 4 key stages of the Akashic records: past lives, present lives, life between lives, and what we call your future lives. And I found that people were able to access their records. The reason it went into Germany is that Germany, I find, is one of the most progressive countries spiritually. They want to clean their records up. There was a recent survey that was done where a lot of the children of, say, that are now reaching their 30s and 40s are carrying their ancestral karma, and they want to release that.
I see.
Germany has a karma of the nation by the work of Alice Bailey of, harmony through conflict. So out of the world stage, because after Germany we came through with the message of never again, never ever again should we let this happen. Germany was on the stage playing that role. So a lot of the work that I do in Germany is about helping free people from that and clear that. And Random did a beautiful job. It next went into Spain, and it's currently being reviewed in China. So I have a Chinese publisher, I have a lot of Chinese clients, but sometimes things can be a little bit sensitive, and if you're ever writing a book that's a channeled book, it's ahead of its time normally, so you have to wait. And then what I did was when I got to Sedona, I wrote the cosmic one, because every one of us, I feel, is starting to make a star journey home. A lot of people that come to visit me, they feel a connection with different dimensions and star people. And no, they don't appear like little green men to me, but I can feel their frequency. I can feel their light. It's just like moonlight. So this book here has 18 different races in, and it helps you connect with all the different star brothers and sisters. So, and one of my other passions is helping people write their books.
And that's what I wanted to talk about next. I read a little bit of your blog, and you described, correct me if I'm wrong, that you always wanted to write, but that you were initially hesitant and very just frightened of the whole process. Or maybe that's not the word, but you were hesitant.
Terrified. Absolutely terrified.
And then you said something along the lines of, I wish I would have done it sooner. So I know there are other people out there who also want to write books or put information out there. What kind of advice would you give them from your experience?
Okay, I was what I call slightly dyslexic. So when I would write, my sentences would not be the best, and I would confuse my B's and D's. So I just made it through what I call my English language exam. But I could read a play or I could read a book and I could tell you all about their characters. And what I would say, there's two things with the book, is really allow yourself to expand yourself. This is your sacred imprint. I believe that every one of us that brings a book or information forward, especially consciousness, they're what I call downloading through the Akashic record a blueprint. And the book becomes the imprint that they'll leave. A lot of people used to leave children, businesses, headstones. Now people are wanting to leave something that's of consciousness that's making a difference. That's why we're having this surge in self-publishing and people wanting to bring through their messages. So what I always would say is sit down, write your message, write it as what you want it to be, what is it going to do for the world. Leave behind your teachers so that you can write something authentic. A lot of times people will send me their work and I will say, you know, I love this and I love your message, but I feel like it's just coming from a Louise Hay workshop. And they'll say, well, actually, I just was reading her books. So what I try to say to people is, what is it you really want to bring forward that no one else is perhaps saying? And also, one of the secrets is if there's something really, really annoying you, that you really, it's pushing your buttons, then normally it's because you're the change maker to change that. So use your book to change it. And then my other biggest advice is always, always get your work professionally edited or proofread. I send mine to a great company. They do business documents, blogs, and they will write a whole report back to me. And they're not a spiritual, metaphysical, what I call script writer, copywriter at all. But they do know writing, and they know grammar. Yeah, and what I would always say is, even if your friend or your aunt and they are in the copywriting business, please send it out, because what happens is then you get a professional perspective back. One of the most challenging things for self-published authors is that they put their work out, they've put their heart and soul, and a lot of money normally. And then the first Amazon report will be, this book was so badly written. And that's crushing to the author, because that was not their intention. And then people don't get past that judgment. So there's two things. Always write from your heart, be authentic, and then use the editing process. There's tools out there. And people will say to me, it's taken me years to write this. And I broke that glass ceiling last year when I wrote an ebook called 25 Spiritual Ways to Raise Your Vibration. And I wrote and I had it edited and published offline on Amazon in a week. 7 days.
Wow.
Now, it's not masses of things. It's just 25 key pages of what would I do, what have I seen, what I call tips of wisdom. But you can get something out into the marketplace very, very quickly. And then that's when the game starts of selling your product, reaching your audience, picking up foreign rights. And it can be a really satisfying, rewarding thing in life. When I get an email from someone and they'll say to me, I read your book, I loved your story, that happened to me. It's very touching, and I'm honoured that they would think that I was a great source of interest and information for them.
Wonderful. If it's all right with you, I'd also like to ask you about some of the tours or just travels, your adventures that you've had, because that's very exciting. Who doesn't like to travel, right? So, I mean, you mentioned Egypt. How was that birthed?
Egypt was somewhere I'd always wanted to go, and I had gone as a tourist, and I was really, really aware that as a tourist, I was able to access things and go into places, and I wasn't afraid, and that was really interesting for me. And what I found was that when I went on my spiritual retreats and they said, we're taking a group in March to Egypt, my hand went up, my credit card went out, and I never looked back. Now, I was doing 3 journeys sometimes a year.
Wow.
Expensive, time-consuming, and a little bit harsh on the soul. But as I look back now, the fact that I'm sat here in 2015 and I'm leading my own groups, I'm actually helping other people lead their groups. Wow. We're getting more people through and really creating a message that Egypt is totally safe. I was there in May and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Now that was totally sold out from what we understand
Yes.
at Otherworld Global TV.
Yeah, I saw that
And
itinerary and I was so like,
yeah,
oh my God.
We just called the new list last week and I'm already nearly full. So
Oh my
I'm getting up to wait lists. But I think the fact that when we take people to Egypt, what we call put them in a safety pod, where basically they start when they get off the flight, where we collect them and we take them through to where we put them back on the flight. So they're very well incubated. We have guides, tour guides, world-class hotels.
And now I'd like to ask you if you would be willing to be a guest in part of our wisdom teachings, that is part of our webcast series and webinars available on Otherworld Global TV. Would that be something?
I would love that. I would really be honored. I would love to be part of your work. If there's any way we can support you from here.
It'd be wonderful to work with you. I mean, you have such a wonderful energy, and I feel like our spiritual journeys are really interacting here. We're trying to get more people to become more informed about how to uplift the planet in our own ways, and I think it's so beautiful. So thank you so much for accepting.
Also, too, let's talk with her a little bit of how people can connect with Dr. Romaina. Dr. Romaina, if you would please share with us a little bit information about how people can connect with you, about your website, your email.
Absolutely. I really love to hear from people. I like to be able to work with them. I work over Skype, phone. I work here in the center in person. So if you're making a trip to Sedona, we're here at the Atlantis Metaphysical Center on 89A, across from Safeway between Darlin DeLuca and Pizza Lisa. And you can visit us. We're open 7 days a week. And we're here on the front line with aura photography, healing beds, any kind of those sessions that you want. You can also reach me by email at amanda@amandaromania.com or on my website www.amandaromania.com. We also have an Atlantis Sedona site, and that's info@atlantissedona.com. And if you've got a question for me, I'm often able to just answer you with a quick email if I can use that content for teaching or workshops or in the Sedona Emergence magazine. So there's many ways that I can support you, and I'm here there just on the front line every day, like I call my shop work, but it's more of my service work, meeting and greeting and showing you around this amazing space.
Dr. Romaina, one question that I personally have for you, because we're wrapping up our interview with you, is if you could leave one message for humanity, and what would that message be? You know, a lot of people in the metaphysical community really don't focus in on children as well. So,
Going to ask about that.
yes. What would you want to say to the children that are watching this program with you today?
Every single one of you has come here for a reason. And every single one of you is contributing just with your thoughts, your actions, your smiles, every single day. And if you could really, really just be aware of that and how special you are, and that's what I call being in your spiritual truth. It's not necessarily about having to go on all the journeys or all the meditations. It's a beingness, it's a presentness, and it's in your heart. And you deserve all that happiness that you're giving out to others, because that's what you're bringing. It's your destiny.
Wow. That's amazing. I wish someone would have told me that a few years ago, and I know that would have made an impact on my heart, and I know it will on other people as well. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on Otherworld Global TV. Thank you so much, Dr. Romaina.
No, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful to connect.
And stay with us, because we're going to take you on a very, very quick tour of the Atlantis shop here, and Dr. Romaina is going to show you some wonderful
Special features of the shop.
definitely
Absolutely.
coming right back on Otherworld Global TV.
So welcome here into the Stargate room in Atlantis, Sedona. We've got lots of metaphysical statues, crystals, amazing things. This is Thomas, our crystal skull. He's actually a fossil from Morocco, and he talks to us about the world of Lemuria before we were actually incarnated in our physical selves. So we get a lot of information, a lot of healers come in to meet him. And then as we come round, we've got a cash register where we can sign you up for appointments. And this is our genie in the bottle. We let her out every morning, and she goes to work to come back later in the day. And then we have some amazing pieces of jewelry, and these are quite artisan pieces. It's one of our local artisans, and he does beautiful, beautiful sculptures around the crystals and the jewelry. And that's a wonderful piece of work by John Farris, incredible work. And then we have what we call our record keeper collection next to our sacred books. We don't tend to do a lot of crystals, but the ones that we do, we really attune them and make them very, very powerful. And then this is our little bookshelf here. And then we come round into our back wall area, which is featuring the amazing work of Brian de Flores. He created 340 of these accelerators. They're like images, sacred acts for your system and your body and your work. Very powerful. And then what we do is we're coming around into what we call our fairy wall, and this is the work of Susan Lightstar, who does fairies and the Atlantis teachings. So lots of beautiful things.
And what we'd love to do, if you have just a bit of a time, show everyone the crystal bed.
Oh yeah, come and see. Come through the doorway.
Here we go.
So here we go. I've got two special rooms I'd like to share with you. This is our healing bed. This is our biomat. And those of you familiar with Reiki will know that you can charge your beds or your healing rooms with sacred energy. So we work with crystals, sacred energy, copper rings. And what people do is in this room, they really get an amazing relaxing treatment. 30 minutes, and what it does is it calms the body down and they get all of their messages come in. Really amazing.
Fantastic. And on to more areas here
Yeah,
at the
I'd like to take
wonderful
you into
Atlantis Shop.
our light ship room, which is our training room. And this is where I do a lot of my work, a lot of my teachings. And you can see we set up as a sacred circle, so we're always ready. Egypt is our number one to teach. So this is where I will do group work, small session work, and you can come in here and take a class and a lesson. And if you're looking around the walls, this is all beautiful light language. It's a little bit like, I call it ancient Aramaic, but it really is holy messages, beautiful words. And we've done a lot of powerful work in this room. Brian DeFlores did a lot of workshops. A lot of people in Sedona came and activated lots of light and crystals from this room. And now it's here just waiting for people to come and visit.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Amanda
Thank
Romaina,
you.
for being on Otherworld Global TV. We're going to get this out to folks as soon as we get back to our area in Kentucky. And we invite everyone to join us on our Global World Tour and Road Trip. This is, of course, Sandra Sabatini, along with Natalie Sabatini, saying happy trails, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Welcome to Atlantis Metaphysical Center. My name is Amanda Romania, and this is my invitation to visit. We're a gallery of gifts, but we're a destination for spirituality with so much more. Step through our Stargate portal into our meditation room. Have a life transformation with a soul and destiny reading. Realign your energy frequency on our amazing amethyst healing bed. In our temple room, we teach over 101 different metaphysical classes. So come, expand your spiritual wisdom with us. We're next to Darlin DeLuca here on 89A, and we'd love to be part of your sacred journey while here in Sedona.